Coming up on Network Africa, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls for unity and solidarity among nations for better refugees protection. Government and aid agencies postpone aid as hunger persists in Burkina Faso. And an ANC lawmaker dies in a suspected robbery attack in South Africa. We're glad to have you on the program. I am Bisi Adebayo. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has paid tribute to the over 6 to 8 million people around the world who are refugees or internally displaced persons as a result of conflict or persecution. He says the world must think about what more can be done to re-establish the integrity of the international refugee protection regime. Each year, on June the 20th, the United Nations Refugee Agency and countless civic groups around the world host World Refugee Day events in order to draw the public's attention to the millions of refugees and internally displaced persons worldwide who have been forced to flee their homes.
Here, someone was displaced every 2 seconds, and mostly in poorer countries. On World Refugee Day, we must all think about what more we can do to help. We stand together or we fail. This year, a global compact on refugees will be presented to the UN General Assembly. It offers a way forward and recognizes the contributions that refugees make to the societies hosting them. As long as there are wars and persecution, there will be refugees. On World Refugee Day, I ask you to remember them. Story is one of resilience, perseverance and courage. Ours must be of solidarity, compassion and action. Thank you.
Meanwhile, South Africa is also marking World Refugees Day with a walk and talk session. In attendance were school children, members of host migrant communities, as well as officials from the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Our South African Bureau Chief Peter Dibia was at the flag-off of the morning walk at the Constitution Hill in Johannesburg.
The anguish and nostalgia of a refugee put to song in the Kinyarwanda language. Reading the UN Secretary General's message where he asks, "What would you do if you were forced to leave your home?" The resident UN representative, Nados Bekele Thomas, herself once a refugee, called for more solidarity with refugees.
On World Refugee Day, we must all think about what more we can do to help. The answer begins with unity and solidarity.
On this day, we need to redouble our efforts to develop a positive approach to refugee protection globally. Such an approach needs to respond to displacement with legal channels of migration.
South Africa received much praise for her reception of refugees, which the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Adam Limi, described as exemplary. A representative from the refugee community agreed, but also called for more responsibility on the part of political leaders in respective countries.
We ask that in confronting and finding us a lasting solution is to confront the dictatorship in our countries and who refuse to democratize, who refuse to respect the rule of law.
Meanwhile, far away from here at a place called the Lindela Repatriation Center, a group of civil society organizations staged a protest for what they call the unconstitutional detention of people for prolonged periods in allegedly inhumane conditions.
The department will obviously investigate the protests, the reasons for the protests and the issues which are being raised by the protesters, and we will take action based on the investigations that we would have conducted.
Earlier, the day was flagged off with a fun walk around the Johannesburg Business District.
We have a lot of concern through xenophobia, through our other papers. It's a lot of problems in South Africa, but this is our day. We just come to celebrate.
Today, the world stands in solidarity with over 68 million refugees, a population the size of the world's 20th largest countries. Many seek to return to peace and freedom, or at least stay in peace and freedom where they seek refuge. From the Constitution Hill, Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.